Dear students, today I am going to discuss the remaining properties of integers. Before that, in previous video we have discussed that the properties of integer like a closure property, commutative property and associative property. And then after some more properties also remained. So in this video I am going to discuss that the remaining properties of integer over different operation, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So that remaining properties are, so remaining properties of integers over different operations. For addition, here is a subtraction and multiplication and division I am going to discuss in last. First I am going to discuss that operation addition. In that previous video we have discussed that the properties of integer, closure, commutative and associative, all that three properties is held by additions. Then next one is the fourth one is additive. The property is additive identity. Means that if you add 0 to any integer, then you will get that the same integer. So 0 is called a additive identity. Means by adding that 0, there is no effect on the given integer. If a is any integer students, then if a is any integer, then a plus 0 is equal to, you get the same integer. If it is suppose minus a plus 0, in this case also you are getting this same integer with minus sign. Okay students, so this is the and 0, so 0 is called a additive identity. Fifth one is the property for this one. For example, 10 plus 0 you get 10, minus 5 plus 0 you will get that the same integer minus 5. So always remember that identity is not going to be changed, and that one is by adding 0. Okay, so 0 is called a additive identity. Next one is the fifth one is the additive inverse. Additive inverse means that if any integer a is given, that its inverse is just opposite in sign. In additive inverse means opposite in sign. If a is there, then its additive inverse is minus a. If it's minus a is there, suppose if a is there, a is any integer, its additive inverse is minus a. If suppose minus a is there, its additive inverse is plus a or plus a, students. So always remember that one, additive inverse is just opposite in sign. And if you add integer and its inverse, you always get that the 0. If a is any integer, then if you add a and plus its additive inverse of a is minus a, then the result should be 0. So you always remember that sum of integer and its additive inverse, your result will be 0. For example, if I take an example is here, let a is equal to 15. So what is its additive inverse? Additive inverse of a is a minus a, means that here is a 15. So what you get it? Minus 15. So addition of a 15 and minus 15, what the result you will get? You will get it 0. So 15 plus in bracket minus 15 is equal to 15 minus 15. So what that result you will get it? You will get it always 0. If you add integer and its additive inverse, the result should be 0. Okay students, this is the two remaining properties of addition: additive identity and additive inverse. And next one is for a subtraction. For subtraction means that subtraction will hold closure property. It will not hold for commutative and associative property. One special property related to this subtraction is a property of zero. Property of zero means that if a is any integer, and then if you subtract 0 from this integer, you always get that the same integer, and that one is known as the property of 0 related to the case of a subtraction. Suppose, and same is minus a, and if you subtract 0 from this one, in this case also you are getting this minus a. Suppose example, you take this 10 minus 0, you get it 10, minus 100 minus 15 minus 0, you get it minus 15. So it is a special property related to the subtraction, and it is very useful for when you are doing that exercise. Then it is very useful properties, students. Next one is that property of integer over multiplication. Students, in that case of a multiplication, we have our previous video we have discussed that the property, closure property, commutative and associative property, and then after we are going to discuss the next one is a fourth one, property of zero. Property of zero. It is also an important property related to this multiplication. Property of 0. If you multiply any integer by 0, you always get that the 0. If a is any integer, then if you multiply that integer by 0, you always get that your result always be 0. Okay students, any integer, maybe it is a positive or negative, but your result should be 0. Okay, for example, minus 20 is multiplied by 0, then the result should be 0. 100 is multiplied by 0, your result should be 0. So these things you always remember it. Next one is a property, multiplicative identity. Multiplicative identity. Multiplicative identity. It is also very easy, student. Multiplicative identity, if you multiply any integer by 1, means that the integer, when integer is not going to be changed, that one is known as that number, that integer will know that it is called a identity. For addition, 0 is additive identity, because by adding 0 nothing is going to be impact on the integer, same integer you will get it. In that multiplicative identity, if you multiply any integer by 1, you will get that the same result. If a is any integer, students, then a is multiplied by 1, you will get that the same integer. Minus a is multiplied by 1, you will get it minus a, same value. So it is very easy, students. Sometimes it's going to be asked that what is the multiplicative identity? Multiplicative identity is always 1, means that 105 is multiplied by 1. What you will get it? 105. 205 is multiplied by 1. You will get it minus 205. So this thing always remember it. And that one more property. No, there is a two properties. Is that one first? Then after 6, one is a multiplicative inverse. Multiplicative inverse. Multiplicative inverse. Or its another name is a reciprocal. Its another name is a reciprocal. Students, multiplicative inverse. If a is any integer, then the multiplicative inverse of a, multiplicative inverse of a is 1 upon a. If it is a, then it is a 1 upon a. If it is a, suppose if I take this fraction 2 upon 3, what is the multiplicative inverse of 2 upon 3? What is the multiplicative inverse of 2 upon 3 is 3 upon 2. Just we are changing that denominator in numerator and numerator in denominator. But for integer, if it is a, its a multiplicative inverse is 1 upon a. And if you multiply integer and its multiplicative inverse, your result should be 1. You always get that the 1. Because a is going to be cancelled out by a. Or how you will get that the multiplicative inverse? If that your integer will divide a, then that result what you will get it, that one is your multiplicative inverse. Suppose a integer, and if it is going to divide 1, then what you will get it? 1 upon a. So a's multiplicative inverse is 1 upon a. What is the multiplicative inverse of 5? That one is 1 upon 5. If you multiply 5 into 1 upon 5, your result should be 1. So students, you always remember that multiplicative inverse is just divide 1 by the same integer. So you get it 1 upon a. And the product of an integer and its multiplicative inverse always be 1. And the last property related to the multiplication is Last property related to the multiplication. Last property related to the multiplication is 7th one. Distributive property of multiplication over addition. Distributive property of multiplication over addition. So in this one, if it is based on a 3 integer students, if a, b and c are any 3 integers, then a is multiplied. That is a rule. A is multiplied in bracket b plus c. Then the result will a multiply b plus a multiply c. This is your result. You always remember that, students. A multiply b plus c is equal to a multiply b. A multiply in bracket b plus c is equal to, if you removing this bracket, a is going to be multiply first b plus a is going to multiply by c also. I will show you this rule with one example. Example is that one. Example first. Let a is equal to minus 11 and b is equal to minus 10 and c is equal to 5. So I am going to take this example in this property. Okay. So here is a is a into b plus c is equal to a into b plus a into C. Here I am going to put that the value of A, B and C. So A is equal to minus 11. It is a minus, so I am going to write in bracket, then square bracket, and then after value of B is equal to minus 10. So minus 10 I am going to write in bracket, and plus C is a 5. Close this bracket, is equal to. So what, according to the rule, if you are removing this bracket, minus 11 is going to be multiplied. Minus 11 is multiplied by minus 10, and plus minus 11 is multiplied plus 5. Students, first I am solve this right side. Minus is multiplied. You know that minus is multiplied by minus. You get it, plus. So minus 11, and then after we are going to multiply that absolute value of this one. Minus minus plus. I am not going to write that plus. 11 into 10, you get it 110. Here is a plus sign. Here is a minus. Minus is multiplied into plus. Plus is multiplied into minus. You always get that minus. So plus minus, we get minus, and then after we are going to multiply this absolute value. 11 into 5, we get it 55. Subtract this one. In this case, we are getting it 55. And if you want to check that it is a correct or not, you will solve this right side also. Sorry, left side. Right side you have solved it. Left side. Minus 11 is in bracket. Multiply and solve this one. One is a minus, another is plus. You know that unlike sign. Subtract it and put that the sign which have a greater value in this one. 10 is a greater than 5. Its sign is a minus. So solve this one. Minus 10 minus 5. Okay students, minus 11 is outside. Multiply 10 minus 5, you get it 5, and with minus sign. And you know that minus multiply by minus, you get it plus. So you get it 55. Both are equal. Left side is equal to the right side. It means that distributive property of multiplication over addition will hold for 3 integers. Okay students, next property is related to the division. Next property is related to the division. Students, so for division, all that 3 properties which we have studied in that previous video. It means closure, commutative and associative will not hold for case of division. Some special cases is there. Means important. It is that important point. Property of 0. Property of 0. Property of 0 means that if you divide any integer, if you divide any integer is divided by 0, okay students, property of 0 means that if you divide 0 by any integer, your result should be 0. If A is any, integer, then means non-zero integer, its value is not going to be 0. And if it is divide 0, that integer, if you divide that by that integer, if you dividing 0, then you will get it, your result should be 0. Means A is a integer, non-zero integer, its value will not 0. If you dividing 0 by that integer, your result should be 0. For example, if you dividing 0 by 10, then your result should be 0. So you always remember that students. And if suppose if you next one is a division by 1. Division by 1 is a special property. Division by 1. If any integer is divided by 1, means that let A is any integer, and if it divided by 1, your result should be the same integer. But students, if it is minus 1, if it dividing by positive integer, you get it a positive value, and if you dividing by minus integer 1, then you will get your result should be, your quotient should be minus A. Okay, so these things you will always remember that students. Division by 1, you will get the same 1, but if you divide it by minus 1, you will get that the minus the same integer. And the division by 0. Division by 0. division by 0. In case of division by 0 is not permitted. Means if you divide, if a is any integer, then if you divide that integer a by 0, it is not defined. Divide by 0, it is not. Divide by any integer by 0, listen students, then if you divide that integer by 0, it is not defined. So students, this thing you always remember, that division by 0 is not permitted in the case of division. So students, few important point is remained. I'm going to discuss in the next video. Okay, and this property you will write it in your copy, students. Okay, thank you.